Well, I always fancied a double 410. I don't really know why, but I did. And I bought this little Spanish one really cheaply at the shooting show. 100 and something pounds, £110, something like that. And the reason was that the left barrel wouldn't fire. It wouldn't even click, so it cocked, but it wouldn't trigger off. And somebody had even had a go at grinding the back of the trigger guard out. God only knows why. Must have thought the trigger weren't moving far enough. Anyway, I tried putting a couple of cartridges through it, and the right-hand barrel was firing okay, but it was actually the striker was punching through the cap in the end of the cartridge, and then it was very difficult to open the gun because the striker wasn't coming back out of the cartridge, it was sticking in there, even though this gun has got quite nice spring-loaded disc strikers, so they should retract quite well. Anyway, took it apart, and I found out, just as I was expecting, somebody had had it apart before me and put the parts in the wrong sides. Probably kept them all separate and then put them in the wrong sides. Anyway, easy fix. So I got a cheap gun and I fixed it. And it's quite a common problem. Now, my favourite user, my gun as it were, is a JP Sauer ejector box lock from 1928. It's not as nice as this one. My son turned up with this one the other day, and if you can see, the screws are flush but don't line up. Same at both sides. That one's not flush. Some nut has been on there with the wrong screwdriver, of course. But the biggest giveaway is that the indicators don't line up. And they're not loose. And they wouldn't be either, because these were really well made guns. This one's from 1914. You can trace the serial numbers on these Sauers. It's actually a better grade gun than mine. Nice thing. So we're going to take it apart and fix it. Obviously a gun for the German market because it says sicher, which of course means secure or safe. And if it had been for the English market or the American market, it would have said safe, as indeed mine does. So, 1914 gun. It would be lovely to know the history of it. It could have been a war trophy or anything. Who knows? I don't suppose we ever will. Well, Rosie's gone down to her mum's for a couple of days. So there I was last night, quite innocently, eating my tea, when I suddenly realised that I'd taken the shotgun apart on the dining table and spilt oil all over the tablecloth. Whoops. Now, it turned out I had to give up on the job because I can't take the strikers out without removing the indicators, and I'm going to have to make a special tool to get those out. Now I'm back out in my den, where I should have been in the first place, and I've sorted all these screws out. They were a real jumble, all in the wrong places, and I've started reassembly. And you can see they're lining up now and going in the direction they should be. These screws were very, very tight, and quite often I think they're not actually tight. They're glued in with 100-year-old oil which has oxidized and solidified. Now, you shouldn't start undoing these screws unless you're more than confident that you can undo them without damaging them. You need to know that you can undo them without damaging them. The purpose of my video here isn't to encourage ham-fisted Harry to take Grandpa's Purdy apart. Some people working on guns mark the components as they take them apart, but most gun makers marked the components as they assembled. The British traditionally, there are no hard and fast rules, but the British traditionally marked the left-hand side components and the Continentals marked the right-hand side. And this is a German gun, and I have found some of the pins have a slot across the inner end. So that's the visible end, and that is the inside end. So these pins should all be on the right-hand side. Now, I've taken guns apart where both sides are marked, and I think what happens is somebody starts stripping the gun and finds the component unmarked, so puts a pop mark on it, and then when he takes the other side apart he finds that the other side already has a pop mark, so both sides are marked. Anyway, I use a tobacco tin for the left hand components and another tin for the right hand components and keep them separate. That's my way. So I started investigating the other components, and each of them had the smallest little screw file mark. This spring, which was in the left hand side, has a file mark, which means it should be in the right hand side, and so on and so forth. I started to do a bit of temporary reassembly just to see how the thing works, and that is in the cocked position, and I've assembled it without the springs just so I can move things about. And that is in the fired position with the indicator lining up with the slots in the sleeve mark on the back of the indicator, showing us that it's the one that belongs in the right hand side. I don't know whether you can see it, but it is there, and it's held in with this little bush or sleeve, which also has the faintest little scratch on it, indicating that it is a right hand component. This gun was made in 1914, and when I've taken the cocking levers out, they almost appear to have what could very well be the factory grease in. This gun might not have been fully stripped since it was made in 1914. Also, the screw slots aren't chewed up, so that's a good indicator. I've got to say, these guns are remarkable value for money. People don't seem to value them, but it's beautifully made. The stocker hasn't taken a scrap more wood out than absolutely necessary. It's even left a little piece of short grain in there. Serves no purpose, but what a piece of craftsmanship. Beautiful checkering. Really, I'm quite impressed because it isn't a top grade gun. I think we can all agree it looks an awful lot better now, and could do with a little bit of tidying up yet, but everything's more or less lining up, and every time somebody takes these guns apart, the slots in the pins inevitably get a little bit wider. What happens is they get slightly marred, and then people file and polish the flats top and stick a file in the slot and straighten it up, which moves metal every time. Now, a much better way is to peen with a very small ball peen hammer, to peen those slots back into shape and do a minimum of touching up with emery and files. Now, sometimes the screws still won't line up. And what has happened is that on unscrewing the pin, you put so much force on that you've actually deformed the head, and opened it up slightly. So once you've hit the angle where the thing won't screw up anymore, if you peen it a bit with a hammer, it will bring that screw back into shape. Cautiously, carefully. Practice on another screw on something else first, but it does work. And as for the indicators, that one's in the cocked position, and there is a snap cap in this gun, and that is in the fired position. So we've got those working as well. So the purpose of the video was putting the things in the correct side of the gun, and that is what I've done. Thank you for watching.